what I want to do now is some demonstration. I want to actually show you how to do some of these transactions. I want to show you some of the workflows for invoices and sales receipts. So now the difference between what you see on the left and the right here depends if you are basically what we call a cash-based company, meaning that all your customers pay right up front. And I don't mean cash like they only pay cash. I mean that they get their service, or they buy their product, they pay you, and you're completely done. On the left side are what we call accrual-based or credit customers. And that's when you have a whole life cycle for the customer where maybe you give them an estimate. That's optional. But maybe you give them an estimate and then you turn that estimate into an invoice, and then you take a payment, one or more payments on that invoice, and then you make a bank deposit. So I'm actually going to show you how that works. So I just moved over into a sample company called Craig's Landscaping. So there's the sample file link. And so what I want to show you is this typical workflow of your customers. So first you can go in the left navigation bar, there's an area here where you can go see all your customers. So now you're getting an idea of what it all looks like. And let's say I was working with, I'll just pick Amy's Bird Sanctuary off the top of the list. So I can make a new transaction. Here's all my types of transactions. Now, just for sake of time, I'm going to skip the estimate and go right to the invoice. But what I want you to see here is what it looks like when you're actually using your QuickBooks. So I can set the date on the invoice and the terms on the invoice, and then I can pick what it is that they're buying for me. Let's say I'm doing some gardening, and I'll put in the description. I can edit the description and show you what it looks like. Or I can describe what we're actually doing for you, and then how many hours at the rate, and then I have that amount. There's also built-in sales tax as well. And then here's where it does the sales taxes. And if I wanted to give them a discount, I can give them a discount as well. So now I can save and send this to them. This will give them, if I've got the merchant services turned on, there will be a pay now button that they can just click and pay. Now, because this is a sample file, I can't actually send this, so I'm going to instead just go ahead and save and close it. So now I can see how much the customer owes me, and all of this shows up on all of the reports. And then when it's time to receive a payment, maybe they send me a check and I get a check in the mail. People still do pay by check. I can receive the payment. I'll put it in undeposited funds, which is where the bank feed looks. And maybe they actually paid me for all of their open invoices, so I can check off all the invoices that they have paid me for. And then I'll save and close that. So that's just an example of what it looks like. And then at the end of the day, when it's time to take my checks to the bank, I'll go up to this plus new button. This is where you can create transactions. And I will make a bank deposit, and all the checks or payments that I'm taking to the bank, I can right now go ahead and combine them and put them in my checking account. And maybe I'm taking them tomorrow, so I'll put tomorrow's date on it. And so here is the amount that actually matches the bank statement. And so that way I can combine all of my checks for the day into one. And maybe it's the same thing. You're taking credit card payments too. You'll be able to see your cash, your checks, your credit card payments, and then group them together in this bank deposit window so that everything matches the bank feed. So that's how the accounts receivable process works in QBO. Then there's also your workflows for paying your vendors and paying your bills. And so you could be paying by check or credit card and just manually entering them in, or you could be doing the whole accounts payable life cycle with putting in a purchase order and for items. And then when they arrive, you make a bill, and then 30 days later, you pay the bill. Completely flexible. You can do both. And again, I just want to show you what that experience looks like. That when I go to the expenses section right here, I can get a list of all of my expenses in chronological order from all of my credit cards and bank accounts and cash accounts and everything. Or I can also go to vendors and see all the transactions from one particular vendor. So let's say I want to go see Cal Telephone. So here I've got my bills and my bill payments, and I can choose, do I want to make a bill? Do I want to just write them a check or put in an expense? I can do it whichever way is right. So again, it just walks you through the life cycle. If you are somebody who is classically trained in accounting, you are really steeped in all of the debits and the credits involved. But all of the debits and credits are taken care of by the forms. And so QuickBooks makes it easier to do the accounting because you're not sitting here making journal entries and trying to figure out which account gets debited and which account gets credited. You literally just replicate your real life experience of, I wrote a check, I got a bill, and then you put the forms in, and it takes care of all of that behind the scenes, that you can go into any transaction, and there's even a transaction journal just to prove to you that QuickBooks really is doing the accounting. Every transaction has a journal behind the scenes with debits and credits so that you don't have to think about it. And that just makes it so much easier. Now, Robin is asking, does QuickBooks Online have sales orders? It does not have sales orders. If you do need sales orders, that means that you're ready for a third-party app. And sales orders are typically part of an inventory management system. So you can subscribe to SOS Inventory or Locate or Fishbowl or any of the inventory ones. And a lot of those will even integrate with your e-commerce platform so that you can see what your inventory is on site. So thank you very much for that question. So you can see here that it really makes it as easy as possible for you. I also, while I'm here, want to show you the bank feeds, because while desktop has bank feeds, QuickBooks Online's bank feeds are far more robust. And so here what you're looking at are the transactions that have cleared my checking account, my savings account, and have come in through my credit card. And then some of these transactions are already in here. Like, here's Bob's burger joint, and there's already a credit card expense in there because the receipt was imported. And then that just means that I have to confirm that, yes, I've already got this one in here. And if there's multiple matches, you can even pick which one is the right one. So as a daily habit, you come into the bank feed and you clear this out. You make sure there's nothing in the bank feed, and then you know that you are completely up to speed with your transactions. And then if something comes in and you that don't already have it in your QuickBooks, you can enter it right from here. So I can go ahead and put in Lara's Lamination and add the vendor. And I can go into their details and store all kinds of details about them, or I can just do a fast add as well. And so Lara's Lamination for business cards. So I'm going to put that under office supplies. So let me go ahead and put in, actually business cards, I'm going to put them under marketing. So I can put them under advertising. And then if I wanted, you even have the ability now to assign it. You even have the ability to assign it to a particular customer, make it billable. Now that's not appropriate for my business cards, but if you had an expense that was specifically job related, like you were buying the materials that you needed for a job, or you were buying products to resell them, you could assign an expense to that customer and even go ahead and make it billable. And then you can put in the notes for what it's for and then add it. So there's a lot of possibilities. This is QuickBooks Online Plus. If you're using Simple Start, you only get the ability to type in who the payee is and what it's for. So those are some examples of what it looks like when you are using your QuickBooks Online. And then there's the reports. What good is spending all this time entering the data if you can't actually learn from it? So there's basically two purposes to your QuickBooks. The first one is that it is taxes. I mean, that's kind of the fundamental reason why we keep our books in the first place, is so that we can pay the minimum amount of taxes as possible, right? Or at least pay what we owe. And so you have reports like your profit and loss statement and your balance sheet that your CPA used to populate your taxes so that you are paying the right amount of tax. But I believe there's a lot more to reports than just paying your taxes. I believe that you should be looking at your reports in order to figure out what's happening behind the scenes in your business. And if you're a business owner and you kind of just have it all in your head, and that's great when you're small, but when you're bigger, there's no way you can keep it all in your head. And that's where your reports come in. So there's a whole reports center here in the left navigation bar. And depending on the version that you have is how many reports that you have. So if you have Simple Start, there's only 20 reports, a couple dozen reports. But when you are in Plus, you have over 100 reports. And if you're in Advanced, you can customize and custom build reports that you need. But just to show you some of the basics, here's a profit and loss report. And so that allows you to see between a specific date range, what are all your different income streams and how much money are you making from those different income streams. Then you take a look at your cost of goods, which are your direct costs. So if you are selling a product, you have to buy the product. Or if you are subcontracting one of your services, you got to pay those workers. And so that's your cost of goods sold. Then that gives you your gross profit, and you see how much money you made on your products and your services. Then below that, you see all of your overhead expenses, all of the additional expenses and costs that you have to run your business. Even if you sold nothing, you've got some basic expenses that you have to pay, like your insurance, for example. You put in all of those expenses, and then at the bottom, you see your net income. And that shows you, if it's positive, that you made some money. And if it's negative, then it means you're spending more than you're making and you've got some work to do. Now, the question inevitably from here is, but wait, that says I made this net income, but that's not how much money is in my bank. So that's where all the other reports come into play, like your statement of cash flows. And, I'm not going to get into the depth and the detail right now, but in my reports class, I teach you how to actually read a cash flow report so you can see if maybe you're making all of that money, but you have a bunch of loans, or maybe the owner is taking out all the money personally. This allows you to see where all of that profit is actually going. I am also, for those of you who are bookkeepers and more advanced, I'm having Hector Garcia come in November, and he's going to be doing an advanced reporting module with us as well. Look at all these reports that you get to run when you are slicing and dicing your numbers. And I love the reports because the whole point is to analyze for growth. You want to be able to see who your best clients were so that you can get more clients like them. And you want to see what your most popular products and services are so that you can sell more of those. And so when you are able to see which activities are the most profitable for you, sometimes you get some interesting reactions to that. Like you might have gone into business because you love doing this one thing that you're really good at and you're passionate about. But then when you start running your reports, you find out, well, I'm only making a little bit of money from that. And this side job I did for this other person just for kicks made me way more money. So the answer is do more of that. Maybe that helps you pivot so that you can grow your business and expand into new areas. These are the things that I love about using QuickBooks Online. That was a whole lot to cover in an hour, and I have about 15 minutes left. I want to ask you a question. Do you need more help learning all of this stuff? And if you do, then I have what you need. And if you would permit me to take a few minutes and tell you about all the things that I can do to help you out. I'd like to be able to take that time. So what I do here at Royalwise is we have what we call the Royalwise Owls. And OWLS stands for On-Demand Web-Based Learning Solutions. And it was actually Jennifer Diamond, who's the president of the Woodard chapter here in Portland, who came up with this acronym for me. And we just took it and ran with it. So we have this full learning platform for you, whether you're a business owner or whether you're a bookkeeper. And I want to take just a moment and show you what that looks like. So I'm at royalwise.com, and I have 5 different ways that you can do your learning. I have a coaching program. I have live classes and webinars, and I have video courses, and I have books like the book right here that I have published. So just to show you the breadth of all of this training, my whole idea here is just like QBO is not meant to be all things to all people, that you pick and choose the elements or the tools in QBO that you need. My idea here with my library is the same thing, that I have some fundamental classes that everybody needs. And then from there, you can just pick and choose the individual courses. So we start with this beginner's guide today, and I have another free introduction to accounting and bookkeeping. And then I have a course on how to set up QBO and a boot camp and the banking feed and how to reconcile and how to set up your forms and best practices and hacks and credit cards in business and how to use the Go Payment Swiper and how to use the mobile app. And so you can see here that you can pick and choose all of the individual classes. When you buy any of these classes, they're evergreen. I'm going to show you my live classes in a minute. And anytime I teach one of these topics again live, you get the video updated so that you always have the current interface. So that's the video course part of it. So if you're looking at that list and you're like, oh my God, I need all of these things, that's where my membership and coaching programs come in. And I've got one for business owners and one for bookkeepers. And when you do these, it's at the silver, gold, and or bronze, silver, and gold level. And so if you're a self-paced learner where you just kind of want to do all the videos and use my 8 questions forum to get your questions answered, that's where bronze comes in. If you really enjoy this live learning opportunity like today, you can join the silver, and then you get free access into all of my live classes that I teach and a membership hour that's a dedicated just time for the members of the program. And that's at the silver level. And then at the gold level, you get one-on-one help with me as well. So that's some of the ways that I can help you out. Now, I also, let me go ahead back to one more area. There is the live classes, where the one with Hector that I mentioned. And it's not just QuickBooks Online Advanced. We're going to use reporting in all of the levels of QuickBooks. But here's the program that I have with Mariette, who is sponsoring today. So you can come and take a look at the live classes that I have coming up. As I said, I absolutely love training. My whole purpose in being here is to support business owners in growing, whether it's directly the business owner or the bookkeeper supporting those business owners. So I'd like to introduce you to Phil, who was an electrician at a company, and he decided that he wanted to break off and start working on his own. So he went ahead and he formed an LLC, and he knew everything possible about being an electrician, but he didn't know anything at all about running his business. And so he knew that he needed to keep records, but he didn't even know where to begin with that. So he started in this same course that we're in today, this beginner's guide, and he realized that he had a ton of questions. So he realized that this is just the tip of the iceberg. And so he wanted to become more familiar with QuickBooks and how it worked. And the way he put it was to learn the language of bookkeeping. And so he signed up for that mentorship program, and he took my whole entire program, and he was able to use QuickBooks with confidence. So I have a roadmap in my handouts where this kind of gives you the guide for where to go from with all of these options that I offer. We're down here at the beginning with this beginner's guide. That's what we're doing today. And then in October, I'm doing my boot camp, and that's the course that I have for learning QuickBooks Online. So it's my fundamentals. It's the place where you get the hands-on training to learn all of those workflows that I was doing earlier with invoices and sales receipts and deposits and expenses and all of that. So I'm offering this class in October, and I'm doing it differently this time. Usually the boot camp is one day where it's a 6-hour blitz, but I found like by the end of the day, people's heads were just rolling around. Their eyes were rolling in their head, and they were seeing it, but it wasn't enough time to absorb it. So what I'm doing differently this time is that my boot camp is actually for all of October. And so let me show you the features that I'm giving along with this. You'll get my handouts and my notes. You will actually get a copy of the book, and not just but the actual physical copy. We are going to mail you one. And so you're going to get a package in the mail with the book in it. There's the quizzes in each time. So basically what we do is we're going to meet on Fridays, talk about the material, and then there'll be a little bit of reading. It's got lots of big pictures. And then you'll watch some videos, and then you'll take a quiz to reinforce the information. The next Friday, you'll get to ask me all of your questions. I'll highlight the things that I want to make sure that you know. And of course, I will totally give you the PEBCACs, my problem exists between chair and keyboard issues, the places where I see people make the same mistakes over and over again. And so I want to make sure that you don't make any of those mistakes. So we will cover that instruction during Friday sessions. So you get a whole lot with this course in October. And we'll even give you, in addition to the paperback book, a digital PDF copy so that you can just look things up right on your screen as well. So that's the special bonus. The course, again, is going to be 5 Fridays in October, 1 hour from 1 to 2 o'clock Pacific time every Friday. And then through the week, you'll do the videos self-paced so that you can watch them over and over again, or you can speed them up and watch them on double time, do the learning, and then bring your questions to me on Friday. So I want to ask you a question that if you stopped here, where would you be 6 months down the road if you didn't take this class? I have people who will sign up for my boot camp and they'll get like 4 hours through and not make the last couple hours. I really want everybody to succeed and get all of the information. And I don't want anyone to be overwhelmed by the learning curve. That's why I've done it into this format so that you can learn it over time, which is going to allow the information to sink in so you really come out understanding. If you took all of these pieces together, the whole course would add up to $679.99. But the course itself is actually only $279 because I want it to be affordable. I don't want cost to be a barrier. At that $279, it's totally a bargain for everything that you're going to get to run your company. So again, here is the link for that. Now let's go ahead and do some discussion. I'm going to stay on at the end, but we only have 4 minutes left, and we have a few things that I want to cover before we say goodbye for the day. So the first thing that I want to do is give a super huge, big shout out to Mariette Martinez, who is in the audience today. And Mariette has a program called Master Your Books, and so she works with bookkeepers who are getting started in their practice to actually create their roadmap for what their goals are, and then starting to put the pieces in place for achieving those goals. So definitely check in with Mariette's program at masteryourbooks.com. Thank you all for coming today, and I will see you in class.